Yes, YouTube. Gonna go through another back test as to what I was seeing, why stuff worked, why stuff didn't work. This is just gearing up for next week when I start trading again. And yeah, so it's just kind of about being patient. I did just take this trade and it lost as well. I'll put that back on. It is just about being patient and waiting for the right setup. But I've kind of simplified this strategy a lot, and when it's simplified, it's actually really easy. And there's kind of easily defined rules when it's simplified as well. So it's essentially finding an AMD pattern inside of another AMD pattern, and the bigger pattern kind of gives it the drawing liquidity and the safer space, and the second pattern, I don't know what I'm drawing at. Anyway, let's get into it. I'll show you what I was looking at. So with this trade here on the left, let's do this one first. So I was looking at my bias. Looks like we're bearish, but here's the thing what I want to say. First of all, that the size and the position of where this AMD pattern occurs matters a lot. Because let's say, for example, this is the bigger AMD pattern here with protected high there. There's your accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and we've distributed all the way through there. I now know that this high is protected as long as we're bearish. However, when I see an accumulation that happens like quite considerably far away from where this protected high is, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you'd need 3 of those sizes to get to there. Whereas really, I'd want to see like my accumulation kind of in this range here, giving it just a little bit of space to then go, okay, bang, we're gonna go up there, respect this area, and then come back, and that would give me a lot of conviction. So that's essentially what I look for, right? So here, when I've seen this, it's like, okay, cool, this looks good, but there is a lot of things that, firstly, I think we could come a bit higher towards. Like I said, we're not that close to this protected high, and I see 2 equal highs inside of that protected high there. So I would want to see us chop, take that, and then go. So that was first of all as to why I wasn't really bearish yet, because I don't think that that's done its job. So anyway, we was here, and I logged on at this time, so it was 10 o'clock. So what I saw was this. We had loads of kind of chop here, and then we just took this high, and we've gone straight back with volume. Look, with volume out, volume straight back in. So I'm like, okay, cool. For the time being, I think that these lows here are gonna go. That, definitely that one, maybe that one, maybe that one. Until we get to this area, which, like I said, isn't the current, it's not like the immediate protected high in an AMD pattern, but this is the last, low. This is the last protected low that took liquidity and broke structure. So as long as this stays intact, we're bullish. So this is what the strategy is kind of about. It's like we build a kind of context and we go, okay, that's possibly a protected area. So then you build more context and go, okay, cool, so if that's the protected area, what kind of fair value gap is there close to that protected area that I want to see us tap into? That one. And I promise you, this was what I kind of like thought out before taking this trade. I didn't know at this point that this was going to come all the way down here, but I thought if I'm going to be bullish on this trade, that's what I want to see. I want to see we've seen the chop, then we go down, then we come up. For this one, I was trying to kind of look for a short as well, but this again is not safe enough for me to take. For example, like I said, look, this for the time being until these lows are hit, this high here is protected. So I want to see us then. Again, I'm building the trade idea. I'm going, okay, where's an area that I want to see us tap into? Probably there. If you know, we look like we have kind of just faffed around here for a bit. I know we've done that V shape down there, but yeah, I thought I would take this trade if we kind of like came up into this gap and then turn around. Again, I did look at taking this long as well, because even though it kind of goes against the plan at the moment, it looked fundamentally good. Look, chop, chop, chop. Volume down, volume up. So with that, then I did exactly the same again. I've gone, okay, this could be a protected low. So let's like zoom in and see how we behave inside of this protected low. So like for example, we bunched up a little bit by this gap. I did think that could have been a good gap to potentially take, this one, but we didn't make any volume out. And this on the 1 minute, firstly we didn't invert, it tapped into this gap and pushed away, but we didn't invert anything. Not only that, but it was only the wick that tapped into, so I didn't like that. So you can kind of see how I'm playing both sides here, and like just building a context, and then I'm just waiting to see how stuff behaves in that context. So anyway, we went down, took all that, and then literally exactly like I was hoping happened. Like I said, this did tap in with a wick, but if you go into lower time frames, we tapped in with the bodies and everything. So this is a bit of a difficult part of my strategy as to like how you define whether the higher AMD has been confirmed yet or not. Because for example, on the 15 minute, we haven't yet inverted this. So that technically means that this larger AMD pattern hasn't been confirmed yet. However, because when something is behaving exactly how I expect it to, I only really need to see one sign to give me confirmation that that's in, and that sign was this 30-minute gap. It's a nice clean gap. We tapped in, pushed out. Like that was all I needed to get the confirmation for that. So I was kind of happy to take that as well. Like even this kind of thing like is kind of a little bit of a jump, a skip ahead. Like we come up, inverted this gap here, this small gap from there to there. Like we haven't took that high yet, and then we come down, drop down, and then blast off again. Don't love that one because we didn't really tap into like the deepest gap. If we would have tapped into that 5-minute gap there, that would have been a really nice trade. I would have took that. But yeah, so that happened, and then again it's exactly the same thing. So now I've kind of built the context. This now becomes my protected low, and then I start looking for places that make sense. Again, if while we're bullish, this is technically a protected internal low. So I'm not saying I wouldn't take the trade if this came and swept that, but I think if we're like immediately bullish, like for now, then I kind of want to just see that get respected. Like realistically, I just want to see that get respected nicely. So we've got our protected low, we've got our internal protected low. We tapped into the deepest gap near that protected low. We had a little bit of slowdown here. Volume out, volume back in. That 3-minute closed, and then all I did was set my target there, Stop loss there. I waited for my 0.65 pension entry, I call it. I think it might have been just there. Waited for that. We tapped in with this wick, and then basically my plan. This is the only thing that I don't have defined as a rule yet, but my plan basically after that is to target the actual high of the larger move, so we get much bigger RRs. So this would have been a 5R if it hit. So what I do is I basically enter there, I wait for this internal high to get taken, and then I move my stop to break even, and then it's just about riding it. But yeah, I need to figure out like what I want to do with partials and stuff, because for example that it did push fairly well. I could have got a 2R out of it. But yeah, that's just that one. Again, I feel like this, I don't really know what happens next, but I feel like this could still go. It's kind of out of my trading times, but look, this 15 minutes now confirmed. We haven't took any of this low resistance stuff here, but we haven't really tapped into any higher gaps that would like try and fight against us either. So here I'd probably just do the same thing. I'd be like, okay, where like, contextually, where do I want to see us bouncing off? Like, what do I want to see happen? So like I said, this is an internal protected low, but now I wouldn't mind seeing that go and maybe tapping into this 5 here. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. No, okay, that doesn't happen, but we do get a new 15-minute V shape there. Do I like this? I mean, I like it because, so part of my rules is I want the M to do 2 jobs. M must also tap into, the M must do 2 jobs. I'm gonna just change that. Must do 2 jobs. So the number 1 job I want the M to do is obviously sweep the accumulation. So if we've accumulated here, and so for example, we need to see that accumulation get swept by the M, the manipulation that M stands for. And then, like I said, the M's second job is to either take some form of older liquidity, for example, a low or a high. For example, here, look, took an old high. This was all your accumulation here. We swept that, took an old high, and then turned. Or it wants to tap into an untapped fair value gap. So, with that in mind, would I take this higher? I don't know. I guess so. I do like that. I do like the V shape there. I do like the volume coming in and out. This doesn't fill me with like super amount of confidence, honestly. Just because I kind of wanted to see that go, but I do think this will probably go. Yeah, there you go. So that goes. And again, you could just hold this. But yeah, with this one being a kind of smaller RR, this makes sense to just hold to that full TP and not even try and take partials, which I think will hit. Should hit. Don't really see why we'd come back down. We'd be break even now anyway. Once we hit this internal high here, I would have went break even. Okay, break even. So that just respected that. Anyway, let me go back to this trade now. So that was that trade. This one was a loser, and let's see why it lost. And I realised straight away what I did wrong that made it lose. So let's get into this one. So I was like there. Yeah. Okay, so same here. I don't really have a plan. However, I could kind of imagine the idea that this is protected. This looks like an accumulation, and then I don't know, potentially like one of these gaps could be the one to tap into. I don't know, there's just a lot of highs ready to be taken there. And the bigger thing for me here is that nothing screams manipulation. This one does a little bit, but I don't really love the wick, and it's already actually took the target, so yeah, this one's kind of no man's land, I'd say. It's not like super confident. Anyway, what I did realise was this, which looked very confident, so that for now was my high protected. Target was these lows. Easy kind of like obvious one would be that, then we'd go for that, and then if we're really feeling lucky we'd go for that. Now this was my problem straight away. Okay, no, sorry, I'm still getting ahead of myself. Again, we could drop, see that as a protected low. Again, like I'm saying, this now becomes more of an internal thing. However, to get this go all the way up there and all the way back in this little small session of 2 hours, like I'm only trading until here, so like it's realistically not gonna happen. So yeah, I think I'd put that as my protected high, or the idea of that. I'm not sure if I even spotted that at that point, to be perfectly honest. I don't think I really spotted that. But I just knew that these were the targets. I knew I was bearish. So I'm kind of looking at this. And then I think what I did was called this my protected high. So again, it was another internal one. Looking back on this, it's not the strongest move. And it also already did take liquidity. But that was kind of the thing that I was aiming for, and I thought to myself, if we get, like, I remember drawing out this 15 here, but then also being aware of this one, which I was more interested in, because it, like I said before, it's closer to the area of protection. And then yeah, we kind of started doing what I expected. Came up, and then I noticed this 15-minute IFVG there. So I was like, cool, if that comes down and inverts that, then I'll take it. And it literally did like a minute before closing, it just closed past it. Not the strongest close, again, hindsight, not the strongest close, but like I said before, because I'd already made the plan in my head of what I wanted to see, that was just all the confirmation I needed, really. But yeah, sadly, what I should have been more aware of is that, you know, this basically what I should have been more aware of is this. This wasn't an AMD inside of an AMD. This was just me assuming that this was already a protected high, and then taking the trade off the back of it. A safer trade would have been, okay, this has done what I expected it to. Now let's drop and see what I can find inside of that. So like potentially, if this is now an internal protected high, then maybe seeing like us chop here and then tap into this kind of gap here and then go down and see if it happens. I'm not sure if that happens. Oh, very close to happening if it doesn't. No, sorry, actually I would be a bit more interested in that 5, you know. But yeah, that, I guess that straight away, that would be what saves. Yeah, this 3 minute didn't invert. So yeah, that's why that trade lost. Actually interesting going through this now, because now I see that this wasn't an AMD inside of an AMD, because I remember I didn't recognize that at the time. I was just like, okay, this was the last high that took liquidity and broke structure, so I was just kind of basing my trade off of that. But like you can see here, this is exactly what I was just talking about. So this protected high here has done what we're talking about. I mean, again, it's quite low compared to like all of this open space, so it's still a bit more of a dangerous move. But to have that, like I said, this is now confirmed as an AAMMDD accumulation. We manipulated up, we've now distributed through this. If now we come and tap into this gap and behave like we want to see it behave, there's no reason not to take that trade. And this is what happens. I'm not actually sure what the outcome of this trade ends up being. I just know that my one lost. So let's actually see together if this one works or not. You'd go break even at this low here. A full TP would be that low there. I don't know. I mean, it kind of looks good. But again, like I said, this is a big old gap to ignore. So personally, I'm not really sure if I'd want to take this as a trade, but it does work. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. That's basically it. And I think that the power of waiting for two things to align that's the ultimate power. I think that's the part where we get so much more conviction, so much more it's so much more likely that trade's going to hit if we've got two things, both patterns, both behaviors behaving in the same direction. I think gives it all its power, all its conviction. I've been doing this for 20 minutes. Should we do one more back test and see if I can find anything? So let's just remove all that. So again, I'm gonna go top down. My plan here is that I'm expecting, what am I expecting here? I think I'm expecting this low here. I'm kind of imagining that this could be an accumulation and then we dip into here. The reason I'm expecting that low is because we've already tapped into this gap here, so I think that that's going to be the next target overall. But like immediate targets, I don't really know. I mean, I changed my mind straight away now, because here you can see, like I said on the last one, we've got a protected low here that's took liquidity and broke structure. Looks like again we're accumulating within this candle, so I'd expect this to be the overall target of this, and then behavior inside of this looks really good. We're kind of like accumulating. I'm not do you know what, instantly I could change my mind straight away on this. The reason I changed my mind is because I don't like to see that we've already done all this accumulation, then manipulated into it, and this didn't complete its job. So that kind of goes against what I'm looking for here. So we don't really have anything at the moment on a higher time frame. Even dropping here, I'm just not seeing anything. This looks manipulative and distribution-y, but first it's already done its job by taking this low. So I'm not too sure about this one. See, again, this looks good. If that like distributed through there, I'd expect all these lows to go. But like I said, and I've just kind of figured out by doing this back test, is worth waiting for that to close and then using that as a proper confirmation, because here I'm a bit iffy. So it's worth waiting for that to close. So I guess that's what we'll be looking for. Seeing if that 15-minute closes, and if it does, then we'll take something internally in there. Let's check gold. So gold again, like I said, where's that big? Oh, okay, there's that big wick. Pause. There's that big wick. Okay, cool. So we've done what I expected it to do. We've come a bit deeper into that. I still would kind of want it to come a little bit deeper, to be honest with you. But we've come into the separate gap. Like I said, done 2 jobs. We've done 2 jobs. We've accumulated near that gap, and we have come up and just about swept that gap. So that looks okay. Maybe we're coming for this. Still not something I would jump in on yet, to be honest with you. I think we're probably going to come to that 1 hour gap there. So now I would kind of be happy to start looking for a trade inside of this. So let's see if we can build some context. We did just tap into this 15-minute there. Not like loving this, and there's no other major gaps either, so I'm just gonna wait this one out and see what we get. I do want to see this kind of come up and come down, but I'm not really sure what I want it to take. There's nothing really for it to take except for maybe that high there. And this isn't behaving how we want it to, so we're just gonna let this play out and do what it wants. Right, this is reaching for something. Is there a gap? Oh, there's a 1 hour gap that we're currently in right now. When did that open up? At 10 o'clock. Okay, so we're in a 1 hour gap. Okay, and we've now inverted this 15-minute down as well. Alright, cool. So now we can operate under the idea that this high here is protected, so we can drop and build some context. Nothing really to build here. Don't like this, it hasn't really accumulated. I think we're probably just gonna take this low without us. Okay, this could be good if we come like into there or something, or just take this old high. There's no other gaps to tap into, so I'm not really sure. Alright, yeah, so that one did work. Hindsight, could I have got in on that 15-minute closure? Not really, because there was opposing things. I do like the idea that that was a protected, but it kind of already hit its target, so I think I did the right thing by playing it safe there. Right, here, what we got? Alright, this looks good, so I'd then say if we invert this gap back down, I wouldn't mind it. Or yeah, like maybe this 15-minute gap here. I'll take that. See if we get it. We tapped into it and then pushed quickly away from it. Boom, backlat. Alright, we're not behaving how we wanna here. What are we saying on the left side? What are we actually saying here? I think we're talking about going lower, aren't we? Alright, so that hasn't behaved how I expected it to. I know, well, it kind of has. Like I was saying, I think it should come a bit higher, so we're not going to get a trade in that. This isn't behaving bad. It's still kind of bullish. Just not something that I'll be taking today. We're kind of bearish, aren't we? Because like I said, that failed. So yeah, alright, no trade, which is fine. Not every day you're gonna get them. Yeah, I want to call it a day on that.